Good morning. Breaking overnight, massive death toll. More than 3,700 now killed in that earthquake in Nepal. Rescuers desperately searching for survivors in the rubble of a country in ruin. Aftershocks fraying nerves. And up on Mount Everest, new video surfaces of the avalanche that nearly buried base camp. We'll talk to survivors still on the mountain. Shattered.
Oh my gosh, we've got softball-sized hail going on.
A driver caught in a massive hailstorm in Texas. Tornadoes touching down near Dallas. Thousands without power this morning. Today, exclusive, Kim Kardashian West opens up to Matt about her stepfather Bruce Jenner's transition and its impact on their family.
I think that when you are finally ready to be your true self, then you're prepared for anything.
And Viva today, Romeo Santos, one of the biggest superstars in Latin music, kicks off a very special week with a live concert on our plaza today, Monday, April 27th, 2015.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Savannah Guthrie. Live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Today on a Monday morning. Matt has the morning off. The crowd is here because Kathy Lee Gifford joins me for the show.
Lee, I was going to say, you don't look familiar, but you do today.
Yeah, so it's great to have you here this morning. We've got a big story at the top this morning, a devastating earthquake in Nepal. With almost every passing hour, the death toll is rising. It's now more than 3,700 people, including 3 Americans.
A U.S. military plane, they arrived today carrying much-needed supplies and search and rescue teams. While on Mount Everest, helicopters are now being used to airlift dozens of stranded climbers off of that mountain.
And take a look at this. This is chilling video of the moment that avalanche swept through base camp. People are running for cover as they are overcome by a wall of snow and ice. In a moment, we are going to talk to a man who was there. But first, let's get to NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. He's in Kathmandu for us this morning. Richard, good morning to you.
Officials here tell us that any death toll at this stage is really just an estimate. They are still coming to terms with the scale of this disaster, and the aftershocks are continuing.
The entire city of Kathmandu seems to have moved outside. Families live on curbs, trying to keep their children fed, clean, and most of all, away from buildings.
The historic center of Kathmandu is the city's most popular attraction by far, with ancient temples and palaces, and it bore the brunt of this earthquake.
Where a 9-story tower had been over 150 years old, now just a stump. A temple compound even older, reduced to a pile. Volunteers today were digging with their hands. They don't expect to find survivors, just bodies. Police have already found around 150 of them in this area. Sorella Tiwari used to come to this exact spot.
Why are you helping out today?
No, it's my place. I've been here, like every day. We used to come here and then hang out. We used to, sit around here with friends, and it's all my place. It's my country. It's my people.
This is also the height of tourist season. An American visitor captured this video of guests huddled in front of their hotel during Saturday's earthquake and aftershocks.
There was a huge crowd, and we had a couple of big aftershocks afterwards, which everybody was saying to get down, get down, get down.
Kathmandu is on edge, but what's happening to the east on the slopes of Mount Everest is far less clear. There were more avalanches Sunday. Trails and camps swept away. At least 3 Americans have died on the mountain. A few dozen survivors have been rescued. It's unknown how many people are trapped on Everest.
A military official told us here that teams are now heading out to remote parts of Nepal, which are difficult to access even under normal circumstances, and which now may be completely inaccessible.
All right, Richard Engel, thank you very much.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, crews are slowly beginning to rescue climbers who have been trapped for 2 days by that avalanche on Mount Everest. As we see dramatic video of part of that disaster, NBC's Miguel Almaguer is in Nepal with more on that. Miguel, good morning to you.
Good morning. Saturday's earthquake spread waves of terror from Kathmandu to the slopes of Mount Everest. When the ground shook here, waves of snow cascaded off of the mountain. At least 18 are dead there, dozens injured. For so many, there was simply no time to run.
The ground is shaking.
This new video from Mount Everest shows climbers trying to outrun a wall of snow and ice. Fleeing into tents as the avalanche heads straight towards them. Among the dead, 3 Americans. Marissa Eve Girawong from New Jersey, who served as a doctor at a base camp, posting on Facebook just hours before passing. Day 28 on this arduous journey, snow is falling and my food cravings are at an all-time high. Dan Fredenberg, a Google engineer based in California, was on a 3-week expedition to Everest.
Here is where all the things we have was warm are set up. From boots to gloves to booze.
He shot this video in his tent just a week ago. His ex-girlfriend, actress Sophia Bush, posting on Instagram. He was one of my favorite human beings on earth. He was one of the greatest loves of my life. Tom Taplin, also from California, died on the mountain while filming a documentary. His wife says this was never supposed to be a dangerous expedition.
An earthquake was unfathomable to me. It's just so shocking.
They're bringing him down now. Saturday's earthquake comes just a year after an avalanche claimed the lives of 16 Nepalese Sherpas, ending the 2014 climbing season. Since then, a new route has been put in place by local authorities, avoiding areas that have a high risk of avalanches. Dozens of injured climbers have returned here to Kathmandu, an all too familiar scene of horror and terror on the world's tallest mountain.
Miguel Almaguer, thank you so much. Garrett Madison was one of the climbers who was on Mount Everest during that avalanche. He's joining us now by phone. Garrett, good morning to you.
Good morning.
First and foremost, we'd like to say how sorry we are to hear about your base camp doctor, Marissa Eve Girawong. She lost her life in the avalanche. How are you guys doing?
Well, the climbers are doing okay. Today we came down from Camp 2 on Mount Everest, where we've been for the last 2 nights. That's where we were when the earthquake occurred and sent down avalanches all over the mountain. Today we descended by foot from Camp 2 to Camp 1 and then were evacuated by helicopter to base camp.
Wow. Take us back, if you wouldn't mind, to Saturday when that 7.8 earthquake hit. Where were you, and describe what was happening, Garrett?
Well, I was leading the team in the Western Crim, which is a valley between Camp 1 and Camp 2 on Mount Everest. And we were about 2/3 of the way up the route to Camp 2 when we heard an awful noise and heard avalanches coming down on either side of the valley. And we thought we were going to get taken out. Fortunately, we were only dusted by a snow cloud. We then proceeded up to Camp 2, got on the radio, checked in with base camp, and then learned of the awful destruction in base camp.
There are food supplies, obviously, things that you guys need. Tell us how critical it is that everyone get off that mountain as quickly as possible in terms of time.
Well, it's extremely important because the route from base camp up to Camp 1 to the Khumbu ice fall was totally destroyed by the earthquake and the avalanches that came down. We tried to find a route back down to it, but it was impossible. And then there were the aftershocks creating more danger. So the only option was to fly by helicopter. Fortunately, we had a break in the weather today, and we were able to get a few helicopters in to get us out of there.
And this had to be, we were talking earlier, like the worst possible time for this type of a tragedy to happen, because explain that this is actually the time where a lot of people try to climb that mountain.
Absolutely, yeah. The climbers were just being set up in base camp. Everyone had their camp fully operational. Base camp staff was standing by. Unfortunately, base camp was hit the hardest. We were very fortunate up on the mountain where we were. We lucked out. But the folks from base camp had a huge rock and ice snowslide come down behind base camp, and I think it obliterated most of the base camp.
Garrett Madison, we wish you all the best. Thanks so much for speaking with us this morning. And everyone talks about in that region how people are helping people in a way that they've never seen before. It's not turning into one of those things where sometimes there's rioting and looting and that kind of thing. It's like everyone's pitching in and helping.
Seismologists were just there a week and a half earlier, and they were all signs were pointing to something big happening.
Wow. What a terrible time for it, especially on Mount Everest, as it's the climbing season.